Hey folks, Mel here, and in this video we're going to continue the whole idea of connecting with people and the people around you and listening to people and all of that. Now, in the last video I talked about how the people around you and the people you're listening to can influence how you think and how it shapes your thoughts and your behaviors. This week we're going to continue talking about people. If you go back a couple of weeks ago, we talked about who you want to be in 5 years, and in that video I talked about it. The person you're going to be 5 years from now is all a matter of the people you meet and the books you read. So let's think about the people that are around you. You might be thinking, Mel, that's great, but I need better people around me. I need bigger audience. I need bigger social groups. I need more people to connect to. And that's great. We're going to talk about that. The thing about it is you've got to be able to connect to people because those connections are going to be key. I was able to get the last several jobs that I had. We're talking like 20 years worth of jobs, like 5 different jobs over 20 something years, all because of the people I knew. It's those connections that will help you to become more successful. I can't tell you the value of this. One of the challenges you're going to face is that if you go up to somebody and you're just trying to find out about them and, hey, connect with me and let's be buddies and all of that, if you're being fake, they're going to know it. Because let's face it, when somebody's fake to you, you know it. And you don't want to be fake. You have to show genuine interest to the people that you're meeting and the people that you're around. Now, if you're like me and you're an introvert, meeting people is hard. Small talk is hard. I hate small talk. I just dread it to no end. However, I've learned some tips along the way that have helped me to be able to start having those very easy conversations that get me connected to people and then I can learn more about them. Now, one thing you're going to want to do is as you talk to people, you want to start making mental notes of different things about them. And that's going to help you to remember those facts later so that when you have future conversations, you can bring up some of those facts. And that's where they really start to feel connected with you. So without further ado, let me give you the acronym that's going to help you to start connecting with people. The acronym is FORD. F-O-R-D. I'm not talking about the truck or the car company. It's just an acronym. Go with it, all my Chevy friends out there. Sorry. The F stands for family. When you start talking about somebody in their family, you want to find out what's your partner, what's their name, what do they do, do you have any kids, do you have any pets? And things you want to start remembering with this is you want to start remembering names, anniversaries, children's birthdays, things like that. You don't necessarily have to get it right, but if you know just a little bit about what's going on. One thing I try to do with people is I try to remember roughly how old their kids are. And whether it was a boy or a girl. That's very simple because all I do is I say, hey, isn't your daughter, isn't she finishing up kindergarten this year? Oh, no, she's just finishing first grade. Oh, man, time flies, doesn't it? So I have that little fact that I'm able to share with somebody, and it makes them think, hey, you are connected. And these are just things I remember about people and this is a skill I've learned over the years to adapt and to do. So make sure you're doing that as you meet people and talk to them. The second thing, or the O inside of Ford, is occupation. Now, in America, we ask, what do you do? And we mean, what do you do for a living? If you ask this in other countries, they may tell you, oh yeah, I play football, aka soccer, I play basketball, I like to go bike riding. For them, what they do is not necessarily an occupation, but you want to talk about occupation. Now, this is one of those things where it starts to, okay, what do you do? Oh, that's interesting. Tell me more about that. And all of a sudden, with those few things, you should start learning about their job and what they do. And again, this is something else when you see them again. How's that job at company X going? It helps you to have a callback to them so that they can feel like you're genuinely connected to them and interested in them. Now, the R stands for recreation. This is for my European friends who, when you ask, what do you do? They tell you, I play football, I go for bike rides, I go hiking, all of those things. Find out what they like to do in their spare time. If they golf, oh, what's your handicap? Oh, you play basketball, you play in a league? Okay, great. How's that going? Little things about them you can start to remember and start to just put in the back of your mind and then ask them about it when you talk to them again. The D in Ford stands for their dreams. What do they want out of life? What would they love to be doing? I was asked an interview question one time and it stuck with me. I was asked this question in 2008. This is 2025. This is 17 years later. I remember this interview question. And the question was, if you could do anything in the world tomorrow, if you got paid the same, regardless of what you did, what would you do? And I thought that was kind of interesting. I asked the guy, and I answered the guy's question. And then I asked him, I was like, what's the most interesting answer you've gotten for that? And he said, I had this guy one time who said, I would deliver potato chips. Why? Because the boxes can't be that heavy and I like driving around all day. Brilliant. Those are things that you can talk to people and just kind of understand what their dreams are and what they want to do. Maybe their goal is, hey, I want to go on this big trip or this cruise, or I want to go hike the Appalachian Trail or something. That's great. You can always ask them, hey, have you ever gotten a chance to do that? All of these things are things that you can go back and ask the person about when you see them again, and it creates conversation. Now, one of the things I like to do in part of this is I do like to focus on the family aspect because that's very personal for a lot of people. I remember one time there was a coworker of mine and he had a dog, and his dog's name was Mason. It was named after his favorite football player. So we'd had this conversation, and then a few weeks later, I go walking up to his desk and he had a picture of a dog on there. I'm like, oh, is that Mason? And he looks at me like I had 3 heads. He's like, what? I'm like, yeah, your dog Mason. He's like, how'd you know that's my dog's name? I'm like, oh, we were talking about that a couple of weeks ago. This is just the things that you can do, and it will impress people, the things that you can remember. Now, here's the problem. Mel, I can't remember things. Well, this is where you get a double bonus in this video. Not only are we talking about the people that you will meet, but we're also going to talk about a book that you can read. And my buddy Snoopy over here has it. The book is called Moonwalking with Einstein. This is a really interesting book. It's about a guy who gets involved in the memory competitions. And he's trying to figure out, how do these people memorize like decks of cards and all this other stuff? And he goes through this whole research and study on it. But one of the parts in this book, it talks about something called a mind palace. And I've seen this in TV, movies, and stuff like that over the years, but I never really thought about applying it. And in the book, it actually teaches you how to apply a mind palace. And this is one of those things that it's really cool and interesting to do. What you do is you try to find some way to associate something about that person with some generic thing so that you will remember their name. Spoiler alert, in the book, there's this thing where the author, Joshua Foer, asked one of the guys, how did you remember my name? And the guy said, oh, it's pretty simple. When I first met you, you said your name was Josh Foer. And I said, okay, well, I'm going to picture 4 of him, and he's just joshing with me. And that's how I remember the guy's name. My wife has a friend named Camille. And she was like, oh, why do I always forget her name? I'm like, here's what you need to do. Next time you think of her and you picture her in your mind, imagine she's drinking chamomile tea. Not exactly Camille, but chamomile was enough to get that trigger that, hey, her name is Camille. And that's a quick way to do that. So it's a great book. I recommend it for, if nothing else, just understanding and learning the whole mind palace thing. And that's going to pretty much wrap it up for this video. Thanks for watching. As always, share it with your friends if you're enjoying it. I'll catch you in the next video.